Today, we're taking a journey right to the very edge of what we know, to the frontier of particle physics. This is the place where the fundamental rules of reality are being pushed and tested like never before. And what we find there, well, it could change absolutely everything. And what a frontier it is. I mean, this quote from physicist Brian Cox just nails the moment we're in. It's thrilling, and let's be honest, it's a little terrifying. For decades, scientists kind of knew what they were looking for. But now we're sailing in completely uncharted waters. So here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to meet our very unconventional guide for this trip. Then we'll dive into the incredible machine he gets to use, we'll look back at its most famous discovery, and then we'll stare right into the biggest mysteries in science today. And finally, we'll ask that big human question. Why do we even bother looking?
Okay, so who's leading us on this journey? Well, let's just say he's not your typical professor in a quiet library. Meet Brian Cox. Now get this, on one side of his life, he's a keyboardist in the band D-Ream. They had a massive #1 hit that even became a famous political anthem. But on the other side, he's a professor of particle physics who literally helped build the most complex machine in history at CERN. It's this wild mix of rockstar charisma and serious scientific brainpower that makes him the perfect person to guide us. All right, let's move on and check out the unbelievable tool that he and thousands of other scientists get to use to poke at the very fabric of the universe. You know, it all starts with a question that sounds simple, but is just profound. A proton is so small it's almost meaningless to us. So how on earth do you look inside of one? It's not like you can just use a regular microscope, right? Well, you build the most powerful microscope ever imagined, the Large Hadron Collider. And the process is, believe it or not, kind of simple in theory. First, you take protons, and you accelerate them in this huge 27-kilometer ring. They're whipping around over 11,000 times every single second, getting ridiculously close to the speed of light. And then, the main event. You smash them into each other head-on. And in the wreckage, in that shower of new particles, you look for answers. And here is the secret sauce. The one thing you have to understand. In particle physics, energy is your magnification. The more energy you can cram into that collision, the tinier the scale you can see. So it's not just about breaking things apart, it's about having enough power to resolve the universe at its most fundamental, most granular level. And this absolutely incredible machine, well, it led to one of the most famous discoveries in all of modern science. 50 years. Just let that sink in. That's how long it took from when the Higgs boson was first dreamed up on a chalkboard back in the 1960s to when it was finally spotted at the LHC. That's an entire generation of scientific blood, sweat, and tears, all for one single moment of discovery. But here's a super important detail, something a lot of people miss. The scientists didn't just crack open a proton and find a tiny Higgs boson rattling around inside. No way. They used the pure, raw energy of that collision to forge a brand new particle. They literally turned energy into mass, exactly like Einstein's famous E=mc² says you can. It means the LHC isn't just a microscope, it's a particle factory. So why does any of this matter? Because the Higgs field is what gives fundamental particles, like the quarks and electrons that make you up, their mass. Without it, they'd all be weightless and just zip around at the speed of light. Finding the Higgs boson was the final missing piece of the Standard Model, our best, most successful theory for how the universe's basic building blocks all fit together. So, with that final piece of the puzzle snapped into place, what's next? Did everyone at CERN just, high-five and go home? Not even close. This is where the story gets really good. See, discovery at this level, it isn't some single eureka moment. It's a game of statistics. It's a game of chance. You have to create billions upon billions of these collisions because the new, exotic, interesting particles you're hunting for, they might only show up once in every 10 billion events. Brian Cox has the perfect analogy for this. He says it's like asking how many people have to live in a city before you just happen to run into someone who's 7 feet tall. If you want to find that rare person, you need a huge city. And if you want to find a rare new particle, you need more collisions. And that's exactly why they're upgrading the LHC for what they call high luminosity, to create a bigger city of data and raise their odds of stumbling on something incredible.
And the list of things they're looking for is just staggering. I mean, these are the great mysteries. They're hunting for dark matter, the invisible stuff that's holding entire galaxies together. They're searching for the graviton, the actual quantum particle of gravity itself. They're trying to figure out the bizarre puzzle of why matter comes in 3 distinct families. And they're asking one of the wildest questions of all. Could there be extra dimensions of reality hidden just out of our sight?
And all of this, it brings us to the most fundamental question, doesn't it? Why do we do this? Why pour all this money and human ingenuity into smashing tiny particles together?
Well, the legendary physicist Richard Feynman had an answer. He saw it as a scientist's duty, not just to explore nature, but to defend the very freedom of thought that even allows discovery to happen. He said it's a responsibility we have to the future.
Because ultimately, this isn't just about particles, is it? This research connects us directly to the deepest philosophical questions we can ask ourselves. When you think about the sheer scale of the cosmos, it forces you to wonder, what does it mean to live our own small, finite, fragile lives in a universe that might just be infinite?
And so we end right where we started, standing at the edge of a vast, dark unknown. The standard model is complete, it's beautiful, but we know it's not the final answer. Something else is out there, just waiting. The only question is, what is it? And when are we going to find it?